While an assassination attempt is an extreme example, violent attacks on political candidates and government officials have actually been going up in the past several years. Reuters found that political violence is at its worst in the U.S. since the 1970s. Its report found that since the insurrection at the U.S. Capitol, January 6, 2021, there have been 213 cases of political violence. That includes 76 cases involving individual acts of violence, and even 18 deaths. And according to the nonprofit Project Democracy, at least 73 elected officials were threatened in March of this year alone. And sadly, this is not the first time a presidential candidate has been the target of an assassin. In 1912, former President Theodore Roosevelt was campaigning as an independent when a gunman unsuccessfully tried to kill him. In 1968, leading Democrat Robert Kennedy Jr. was shot and killed while running for the Democratic nomination. In 1972, George Wallace was also running for the Democratic nomination when he was shot and left paralyzed from the waist down.